What are you up to this morning?
Just grabbing some breakfast to break the fast, and then we're jumping in the car to go watch Connor race this morning.
Okay. I thought that was my sense, was that you had something going on this morning. So
Always.
fun.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a busy time of year.
Yeah.
But
Very,
it's
very busy for you.
Yeah, for everybody, really. I mean, it's a changing of seasons, right? So there's still stuff left over from the last season, and the new season's starting. And anyway, I know on the farm it gets busy too.
It's getting there. Yep. So Mark went ahead and rototilled the gardens yesterday, which seems
fun.
early. But
it seems early. Is that what you said?
Here, yeah, because we wouldn't typically plant until the end of May. But I said, well, I'll go ahead and lay out all my beds, and I want to plant a cover crop in between the rows, and then we can kind of peg away at planting and getting stuff.
Yeah. See, I figure our last frost down here is around Mother's Day. We had a good frost last night. So Mother's Day is next week. But
yeah.
Then I guess you guys have like a 2 full weeks after us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So yeah. But my greenhouse is doing good. Hey, when my kale starts to flower, I can still keep eating off the kale leaves, right?
Yeah. I'm on my 3rd year. It's crazy.
I have been. And then sprouts will come up, right?
Yeah, I mean, it basically kind of bolts. It bolts kind of like spinach and all the other ones, and then it's like a 2-year, you know. So it bolts, and then it flowers and makes seed, and then they go all over the place, and, and then they start to grow in the fall already.
Yeah.
And then they overwinter.
All those babies.
Yeah, I did. Okay. I mean, they don't look. I mean, they're kind of scraggly, but yeah, I did transplant them, and they're okay. They haven't gotten watered real well, but yep, transplant for sure.
Okay, cool. Cool. I like self-propagating plants. That's kind of my
I call it
goal.
Lazy gardening.
Yeah, I've got a friend that has a perennial broccoli. He gave me waiting onions. So they're perennial. They spread. Sunchokes, those. It's kind of like it's one of those, you don't ever get them all, and so they're sort of perpetual. And he also said that, was it them or the broccoli, make a really nice rhizome barrier to keep quackgrass back. So they work really good at the edge of your garden. So I'm interested to try all that.
Do they also just take off
I don't have to,
or wherever?
Well, they do also do that, but we'll see. I figure, the worst that can happen is that you end up just rototilling everything again and starting all over, and then you're just back to where I am now, and there's nothing lost.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Because this year, again, no squash volunteers.
Oh, well, it's kind of early, isn't it?
Well, that's just like my rule, because I love volunteers, and I usually let them go.
You don't want any squash volunteers?
No.
Yeah, right. Because they're wacky.
Well, I had gourds sneak in.
Yeah.
So then you end up with gourd squashes. Everything's a gourd squash.
Well, I just always feel like I don't know, maybe heritage squash end up okay. I used to have heritage squash growing in my compost, but some of them just get weird, like crosses between zucchinis and squashes,
and that's a little tricky one. You get up,
and they can be yucky.
Yeah,
like nasty. Yeah, right. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So, question of the morning. What are you optimistic about? today? Are you optimistic about?
Sorry, scares me.
Bonnie, you look like you're having to think hard.
I am, because I'm thinking a short term or possibly a long term. I think a short term would be optimistic about finally getting some of the things built that I wanted to build out here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm accomplishing, we're getting them accomplished, but they're very slow on my greenhouse and my large chicken run. But we'll get it. Yeah, the weather hasn't exactly been cooperating, so this week's supposed to be better, I guess.
Yeah. But you're moving forward. Every picture I see it's a bit further forward, so that's good.
Yeah, we just got a 10 by 10 dog kennel too, so for the ducks.
Nice. Nice. Cool stuff. Mark put together my run for a few laying hens. So I'm gonna, among all of my other experiments this year, I want to have hens hatch chicks for me. Yeah. See how that works.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. What are you optimistic about, Andrea?
It's a good question. I'm optimistic that Ella's getting better. So that's good. Bonnie, my daughter Ella was really sick for a couple weeks here. She had mono and she got like just a really bad case. And so it's been about 2.5 weeks since she got it. And she still is just eating or drinking Boost twice a day. Her mouth just got really, really sore and bad shape. But so she's doing better. She said this morning her pain level is at a 2, where 0 is no pain, like everything's normal, and 10 was like where she was at her worst. So that's encouraging.
Yeah.
That she feels like she's come that far. She still isn't eating too much, but yeah, that's something I'm optimistic about. And because that was pretty dark for us for a little while there. What else do I
can relate to that.
Yeah, that's hard when you're.
My dad's going through some stuff right now too. He's 83 and has dementia. And,
yeah, and you're hurt for your loved ones, when things aren't going well. I think I'm optimistic about work, although it's just really full right now. I think it's full in a good way. So that feels good, even though it's a bit overwhelming at times. It's overwhelming because I question whether I can keep up or if I'm the right one for the job, that kind of thing. But it is encouraging or optimistic, I guess. Yeah, and I feel I don't know, I just feel optimism for my family members right now. Things like they're just, some things are going good, so that's nice. That's funny. That's a great word, Jill. Optimistic. What are you optimistic about? Sometimes I think of it as like, what are you celebrating? But that's kind of more like past looking backwards, whereas what are you optimistic about is looking forwards.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Definitely.
Right now, it just seems like a lot of people are having trouble looking forward.
Well, I'm looking forward to specifically every single weekend. I love weekends, and I'm looking forward to it not being so cold outside. I'm tired of my skin hurting and my toes being numb and my fingers being numb. So I'm definitely optimistic about summer. Looking forward to that.
Yes.
But
yeah,
there's lots of things. I don't know, if I say looking forward, it's a little bit easier for me to come up with stuff too. I don't know, for some reason that word optimism, I'm like, but it's an interesting word. I don't know why I'm a little hung up on it.
I have been feeling like, I mentioned this Thursday and talked about it, but that there's a lot of people that are just feeling overwhelmed by the chaos out in the world right now. overwhelmed, and it's all different things, you know, by the month or, you know, just a plethora of challenging situations. It just seems very much like the world is volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous on steroids. And people are just having a hard time looking forward with clarity. So optimism just seems like a good thing to focus on right now. Yeah. So I wanted to share with you guys today. So this is something, Andrea, that I encourage you to look into because you have a lake.
Oh, you can talk about cold plunging. Oh no. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. So, well, this is Wim Hof's website, but he does the cold, which is really amazing. I am working my way into it. I started with like turning the hot down. It wasn't cold, but you know, the shower was significantly cooler. And turn around twice. I thought, okay, I can do that. And that was pretty amazing. And now with our shower where it is, there's no like turning the hot down. It just goes off. And I'm staying in longer. So I'm working my way there. And then my goal this summer is to get up in the morning and jump in the pool first thing. So I'm working my way there. But it is pretty amazing how it conditions your body to handle the cold. And cold isn't so painful. Absolutely painful. I'm not going to say it's pleasant. I'm hoping to have one friend on later this summer who finds it pleasant. And I don't know, but she's been chopping holes in the ice this winter and loving it. And she'll come on and talk about all of the amazing things that have happened.
Why can't just my body being cold all day do the same thing?
Yeah,
you know, I feel like I do get cold.
I don't know the answer to that. I know it has to do with the extremes. And pushing your body into that super uncomfortable place where it sort of panics.
Oh, sure.
And then
maybe it's like
okay. So
maybe it's like the flood theory, you know, where you like go to the extreme and then the norm doesn't feel so bad.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure there's a lot more scientific to it.
Yeah. Wim Hof's website has a ton of information that I have not fully waded into yet. So
literally.
Yeah, that was a bad
pun intended.
Yeah, but he's got this breathing thing too. So it's kind of like a two-pronged thing with him. And Frank and I did this one night and it's really cool. And then I did it just on my own while I was sitting for a while the other night. And it's pretty amazing. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And plus, and you don't have to use this specifically. It's just the technique of breathing. And they provide this as a way to help you learn how to do it.
Is it breathing in the cold? Like, is it a combo or two separate things?
He uses it together. You don't have to use it together. I haven't done that yet. But he uses it together so that he can do, and it's just a matter of training. Like he has trained people to do the same thing he does. And so he pairs them in order to really be able to control his autonomic functions. So he can control his heart rate, his breathing rate. He has controlled his immune system. It's just really phenomenal. And he makes these tools available. But this is one of them. The kids have also used this or something like this to improve being able to swim underwater to the end of the pool and back how many times. So just doing this actually is a really good thing, like for your breathing capacity for running.
Right.
And that kind of stuff.
Any
kind of physical performance thing that involves breathing.
Do you know what's funny? The other day I was running with this girl and she was trying to, and I don't think she's to that point. I've heard it before about like just nose breathing, you know, while you're running. And that's what she was trying to do. Like just naturally, that's how she just runs. But the problem is that she's not in very good shape. And she was like, her capacity was not enough. So anyway, it was kind of interesting from both points, like nose breathing and also building your breathing capacity. I don't know why I'm telling you that, but anyway. Interesting. Yeah.
No,
keep going.
yeah, it is. And yeah, this is a nice like training thing then to kind of build that capacity. But that's sort of what he does.
I totally believe in that. I just need to get better at practicing it. Once again.
Of course.
There you go. This summer is your time, Bonnie. Here's the challenge for you.
Yeah.
Because the cool thing is, of my many things I'm experimenting with this summer, after I did this once, I thought, ooh, this would be good. I want to do this a few times a week. And I have one boy that is just like perpetually tired because he runs himself ragged. I want him to try this and I want to see what happens. Because this is just 11 minutes, 3 rounds of breathing, of which we're only going to do 1. But I don't know, it's interesting. So we'll try 1 anyway. You can tell me what you think.
Hi guys, welcome.
Plus he has this cool accent.
Relax, lie down, sit down, whatever it takes, relax. Are you ready? Here we go. Round number 1. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Just go with the flow of the breath. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in and letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. More. Fully in, let it go. Five more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in and let go. All right. 1 minute breath hold from now on. Be in this moment. Let the body do what the body is capable of doing. Be aware of your heartbeat. Slow it down and just be in this moment. Let that relaxation spread down to your toes, into your fingertips, to the base of your neck and head. You are almost there. Do you want to prolong your breath hold? Pause the video now and continue when you feel the urge to breathe. Okay, recovery breath in, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Round number 2. Back.
How's it feel?
Probably be a whole lot better if I wasn't interrupted.
Yeah, the whole video goes, it's 3 rounds. And the
Jill, I remember we did this before, right? Like, when did you give us this before? I feel like maybe it was in the year 2 lesson at one point. Yeah, because I did it with Camden.
Yeah, it's really similar to the one where you kind of reverse so that you pass this breath in and then you blow it out, force it out. It's kind of similar to that.
Uh-huh. Okay, I just remembered the video and the guy's voice.
He keeps it. Nope. Oh, yeah, that might have been Dr. Duyard that we did.
Oh, okay, I remembered this video, but maybe I saw it somewhere else. I don't know.
Oh.
I like it though. I'm with you. I like it.
Yeah. So that's on my list to do regularly this summer. And Keith's the one that I kind of want to get him doing with it. It would be, and I'm going to mention this to a couple people that I know of, but an interesting one for these people that have the COVID issues in their lungs, because it does so much oxygenation and it's rhythmic, so it really gets you. It is working on that lung function and your body's ability to oxygenate. Just be an interesting thing. I don't know.
It would be.
Yep.
You're experimenting, and if you can't do it yourself, find a suitable victim. So. So there are a couple people I was hoping would join us. I wanted to talk about earlier, lighter dinner, because they had some challenging stuff. But they're not here.
Yeah, from Thursday's meeting.
I'll give you guys this.
I think I must have a pretty bad lag time. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead, though. What about Thursday's meeting?
No, yeah, but keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay. I was moving on.
Yep, go ahead.
But did you get a chance to see it? To see it and do the exercises at all, either of you?
I have not.
Not yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
I know you have so much spare time. You're just sitting around looking for things to do. But I would encourage you to go back and go through that and then put it in the Google Doc, just because, as always, it's important to get oriented. I've also brought in some things that I've been learning. I did a 3-day workshop this week with a guy named David Nagel, and it's a lot. It gave me a lot to think about and a lot to bring to you guys. And so that's some of what I did. And some of what I had today goes from that. Do you guys feel like you want to do a little bit of that clarification? Or do you want the next step and then you can go back and kind of know where you're going to go as you work through the...
I personally plan to listen to the video this afternoon. So if you want to go next step, I'm fine with that, because I'll just kind of do it out of order. Would that work? Or
yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
You have both.
Yeah. you have gone through the process before, both of you have, so it's not a huge stretch. So one of the things that I had, he talked about how to sort through opportunities. So once you know what it is that you want and you've thrown it out there and you've gotten pretty clear on it, there are going to be a lot of things that come up. And we talk about this in our ground rules too, with getting focused, and then things come up that distract you from your purpose. I forget exactly. You'd think I'd know by now. In our ground rules. So it's a thing that happens. How do you wade through all the opportunities that can come up, the potential distractions, and know, is this a thing that will take me towards what I want to do and it's a good thing to do, or is it not? How do you weed out the things that pull you away from that target that we've talked about before, that become shiny objects? So he had 4 questions. 4 that are kind of, I don't know, I forget what you call this, but it's like a, if yes, then do this. If no, what you're going to do is kick it out. Then this opportunity is a shiny object rather than something that's going to take you towards your goal. So the first question is this something that I want to do, be, or have? Right out of the gate. Is it something that aligns with where I want to go? If it is this something that doing, being, or having is going to take me closer to my goal? Because a lot of times things come up that align with where you want to go, but they are also in alignment with where you are right now, as opposed to where you want to be. So will this move you closer to where you want to be? If so, if not, it's a shiny object and it's a distraction. If so, is being, doing, or having this in harmony with God's laws or the universal laws, specifically understanding that God's laws are about bringing more life to you. So is it going to bring more vitality, energy, life to you? If so, this last question is a kind of unique and different one that I hadn't heard before, and the couple other people I've bounced this off of hadn't heard before either. So if all of those are true, if it is something that aligns with who you want to be, do, or have, it is something that's going to take you closer to your goal. It's going to move you forward. It's in harmony with God's laws of bringing you more life. Is it, doing, being, or having this, going to violate the rights of others, which very specifically means their right to choose? So is doing, being, or having this going to significantly impact other people to the negative? If the answer to this one is no, then it's a good thing to move forward with. If the answer to that is yes, even if everything else is yes, if it's going to significantly negatively impact other people or violate their right to choose, so it's forcing something on them that they don't want, then it's not a good thing. You're stepping out of alignment. So as we weed through, as we think about what it is that we want, our goals, and getting really clear and specific on them, we talked about how once you get focused on that purpose, it makes a lot of other things easier to say no to. Because if they're not aligned with that, then they're distractions. or kind of anti-opportunities. But having this set of questions just kind of help make that whole process of figuring it out clear, because sometimes it's not super clear. Even if you know your purpose, things come up that look really good, or people come into your life that say, oh, this could be a good help. And this just is a really fun, not fun, but a really easy way to clarify it further to help you stay on target and on your purpose. And I'll post these questions. I'm going to put them into a document, and then I'll share the document file with you so that you can save it in your own Google Docs and it can kind of live on and be easy to access. So it's a thing to look at as you go through the other process. One of the things that I noticed, and this was the other reason I wanted to share it here, is as things feel very chaotic out in the world, or we're feeling overwhelmed by all the things that are going on in our lives right now, this is a way to weed through and maybe thin out things that are going on. Or as we're looking at what's coming up and thinking, holy cow, that's a lot. Or there's things that come in that you say, I need to do that to help whatever, be a crusader, or be, maybe that's something that comes, that's a being thing. So identities that come up that you say, oh, this is really good. But if it's introducing chaos or overwhelm or a lack of clarity into your life, this is a way to step back and assess and say, do I really need to tackle that project? Or is it distracting me from what I had stated my purpose is? Maybe it relates, but it doesn't pass these 4-question sniff tests. If it doesn't pass the test, then it is taking you away from simplicity, clarity. I forget all the other things that are the opposites of the VUCA. And they're going to pull you out of alignment. So these just help weed through and sort out. These are the things that I really can let go because they don't align with where I'm going in my purpose. Or this is how I can do it in a way that still aligns. Because things come up with kids that get sick, parents that get sick, people you got to take care of. The spot fires, I know Amanda is like a regular fireman with all of the fires she puts out. But these questions help sort through, how can I do this in a way that keeps me aligned with my purpose? Or maybe there's somebody else that needs to handle it more than you. And you need to let them do it so that you stay aligned. But it just helps sort through all of these things and give you a way to think about how you can simplify and get clarity in your life and stay on your purpose, because everybody has a purpose they're here for, and not everybody's here for the same purpose. That's one of the struggles sometimes when you hear great motivational speakers, or the church sometimes does this, even though Paul said, everybody has a purpose, and a toe is not an eyeball. So don't judge each other, but we still do, and we still feel like we should be doing the same things other people do, or we should be able to do it all, or we should, all those shoulds. Getting clear on what you are here for, and some of that process incorporates part of that, and we may talk about that more as we go through the summer. The way that I want to format us with having 1 week about this habit and another week more about habit change and how you dial into what it really means and how the habit can serve you. but this is just a really helpful way to start to sort through all of the things on the to-do list and figure out what's important and what's urgent, and focus on the important things. Feedback. How does that all hit you? What is the first thing that pops into your mind?
I love these kind of metrics, you know, for helping to make decisions. And I appreciate this metric, especially with how it pairs with, you know, some of the master of you stuff that we went through, and obviously training that you've given. Like it does a nice job of pulling together things that we've talked about, but it puts it in like almost a box format, you know?
Right.
And I really, really appreciate that fourth question. I think that's so important. And a lot of times, as Americans especially, we just, I don't know, we put ourselves first and we figure everyone else is doing the same thing. So there you go, right? But I appreciate that fourth question of saying, if my choice here is taking away someone else's choice for the negative, then I really shouldn't be doing that. Like, that's just moral, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I agree. It is kind of a countercultural thing to step back, because so many people say, well, you got to do what's good for you, and then everyone else around you will be happy if you're happy. Well,
and everyone else does the same thing, right? Like if everyone just does what's good for them, then there you go. But that's not that's not the system we work in. That's not a real system. Everything isn't balanced like that. But no,
yeah.
I struggle with like if I'm just talking through, you know, I'm just brainstorming, like, well, some of the decisions I've made, where they fit in this. I know that, again, as an American, like we just fill up our time so full, and I'm guilty as charged, and I know that's not good for me, and yet like it's so hard. And when I use this, I'm sure that there's some things that I've said yes to that would not fit all 4 check boxes, and therefore you know, probably should be passed over. So I think it takes courage to follow through with this metric too.
Yeah. But as soon as you do, it just helps you align better. And as soon as you're aligned, then you're in a better spot. I did also feel exactly what you said, that last question. It brings in more of what I feel. It's, you know how you hear a lot of things and it sounds right, but at the same point, there's something in your gut that says it's just a half a beat off. And when I heard that last question, I said, oh, that's the half a beat that was missing in so much of the good advice about, you do need to take care of yourself, and you do need to make sure that you are in a good place and you're doing what makes you happy and all this. That's that half a beat off is the last thing, unless it's taking that away from somebody else, which we should think of, but like you say, we don't always. How about you, Bonnie? What's your first thought?
My first thought was that instead of just impulse on something, to really step back and take a look at the options that I have before me. And then, like you said, you know, you then ask your question, does it line up? I bought me a little miniature thing yesterday on an impulse, and it'll work, but at the same time, it was still kind of a waste. Not as much space as I need, that's for sure. But
yeah,
at least it gives me a little bit more room somewhere else. So it will serve a purpose for now.
Right. I like that. The impulse. That's where we get ourselves in a lot of trouble. The shiny object, it looks good, but if you stopped for just a minute and ran through this and say, could be better though. Could be better. Hold up for the better thing. Yeah.
Take the time and review.
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna save that. The other cool thing, interesting thing that he talked about, not the other, one of the other, because this was one of those things where they mentioned it a few times and they were really helpful. They had somebody that was taking notes and then putting them in the chat so that you could follow along, because this guy had so much. Your hand wears out, literally. But talked about stages of growth. So when you set a high and lofty goal, I'm going to put them in a document, and then I'll share the file so that you can just save the Google Doc, and then it's yours and you don't have to write it down somewhere and lose the paper. So when you set a goal, you're down here and you say, I want to get here. And especially if it's a really big goal, and they say it is several people, I hate the they, but people that achieve huge things and then tell you how you can do it, say to set big goals. And his example was, so you're down here and you're making 20 grand a year, because this is where he started. He was a forklift driver on docks in New Jersey. Interesting character. Set a goal to make $1 million a year. He wanted $1 million as income for a year. So, but you hit stages of growth, because when you're making 20,000 a year, you do not have yet the mindset and the skill. You can come through, Jim. Mindset and skills to pull in $1 million a year. But you go through growth stages, and at each stage, you will get, when you say, this is what I want, and you make a decision for it, what you need will come to you. That's part of the abundance that I've experienced. So I know it's true. And I've talked to other people, and I think you guys have had this too. When you say, this is what I need, it shows up one way or another, not always how you think it will, but it does. So it starts with just being aware that there's a possibility out there. This is a possible thing. And then deciding that possibility is what I want. Part of our orientation and part of that process of going through everything, I'm hoping you tune in a little bit more to what is possible. Not just what I want, but what's possible out there. The next stage is saying, that's what I want. Out of these possibilities, and there's a huge number, like anything is possible. Absolutely anything. More than what you can imagine. So as big as your imagination is, there is even more possible. Think of Abraham, when God said, your descendants, the sands of the seashore and the stars in the sky, more than what you can think of. And this is a man who's really old, and his wife is no longer capable of children. And God said, this is how huge it is. These are the possibilities that are out there for all of us. No lie. And then you say, this is the possibility for me. This is what I want. Know that it will come and it will happen, just like it did for Abraham. It will come and it will happen. Not maybe the way that you expect or you think. So it isn't like Abraham could go out and get himself a harem and make it happen. They kind of tried that and it kind of didn't work because it wasn't in alignment, like we talked about. So it kind of did and kind of didn't. But once you make that decision, things start to change. You have to start to change. The things that enable you to do it, the opportunities to get to that place start to show up. And you have to make decisions to do things, to change. Then you start to, as you make little changes, our Kaizen small changes, we talked about this over the winter. It's like a muscle that gets stronger. So as you succeed making small changes, then you can make more small changes, a little bit bigger changes, a little bit bigger changes, and it builds. You start to get momentum. You start to get used to being at that next level. You adapt to your changes. So that's your norm now. You've reset your norm. At that point, you can start to really grow. That's part of the growth process, and you start to really bloom at that level and transform so that you become the form of your next level. That's your automated habits. That's your next way of being. At that point, all of a sudden, the next thing starts to become a real possibility. You become aware of what could be next, and you start the process over again. So it's a continual loop of growing, and it means there's continual possibilities. You're never stuck. When nothing in nature is static. It's one of my beefs actually with some of, and I might go out on a limb here a little bit, the global warming thing. It is no lie that the globe is warming. It's a fact. Michigan used to be covered in glaciers. It was a lot colder here at one point. We know that there was a global ice age. I forget exactly when, but like in the middle between, like in around the 1700s, someplace in there, about the time that the Grimm's fairy tales come out of, those stories, a lot of those stories come out of that time because it was really hard. Stradivarius violins were made from wood, that trees that grew during that time. I didn't know this until recently, because it was, the conditions were so harsh that the growth rings were really, really dense. And so that wood it's super dense and has a very particular resonance. The world's most amazing violins came out of this really, really hard ice age. So we've gone through a lot of cycles, and on the whole, we are continually warming. All of that's true. And we need to be good stewards. We need to be responsible. All of that's true. When I look at what they're doing with it politically, though, it doesn't resonate with me, because a lot of it is, we need to stay right where we're at now. We don't want the oceans to rise. We don't want things to change. Right now is where we want to freeze things by imposing all of these things onto you all. Which, as I say that, I realize it doesn't line up with our questions. But it assumes that things need to stay where we're at right now. And that is absolutely against the laws of how the world works. It is not, we're not in a static system. So one of those questions is, will it move you towards your goal? Or does it enable you to just do what you're doing a little differently? A variation on the theme, or is it moving you towards a new theme altogether? We go through these cycles, but it's all about growth and transformation. That's why we're here. It's what we're doing. Your habits, because you guys have done this a couple rounds already. And I know, Andrea, we did this a lot with the Master of You. Stepping back and taking a look at, okay, my earlier, lighter dinner. How can this help me grow? What is the growth and transformation that's possible out there that I can use these habits to leverage into? It's the big question. Possibly one that you just need to sit and think about a little bit. Look at the information. I talked, and Andrea, you'll hear this again. You hear this again on the recording, but my thing this time is really working on intermittent fasting. This summer, I want to take that bull by the horns and work it a little bit, because I know that having that longer space between eating times, having a feeding time and a good fasting time is going to help my body improve a lot. And as we go through, I'll talk about some of the summer. That's one of the things. The cold is another thing. Doing the Wim Hof breathing, I want to really play with that and play more with breathing this summer, breathing techniques, with the goal of trying to get my thyroid to a better place, get my body to a stronger place, because I know this fall is going to be a challenge again. And I'd really love to decrease the amount of thyroid medicine I take, which I don't know if it's possible, but I think it is. And so I'm going to try and see if I can really hack that whole system with these techniques, with the idea of ultimately where I want to be is completely independent of any kind of supplementation, including my thyroid, including having to take vitamin D through the winter. And that, I mean, both of those, just because, we're not going to move below the 35th parallel, and my life is what it is, but within those, can I use these things? So that's where I am using these habits, the breath body, earlier, lighter dinner, sitting in silence. Can I really use these to hack into a new level of being and doing? We'll see. I'll keep you posted, because, I'm doing this as we're going through it. But that's the mindset to work towards. That's what these ultra super successful, and however you define success, but these people that are way up above where we're all at, that's what they're doing, is they're working this system of change. They're really getting clear on what they want and why they want it, because the why comes back to your deeper purpose. And then really clarifying the opportunities that come along and how they can keep themselves perfectly on target, on track with where they want to go. So, small lecture for today. I didn't even want to do that. But it's just exciting. This is all just cool stuff. Thoughts, takeaways, how does that bounce off you?
Well, it helps you definitely to be a little bit more aware of your own information, I think.
That's the truth. That's part of the chaos that's out there, is all the information.
Yeah, which is true and which isn't.
Definitely. Yep. Yep. Yep.
I guess that's where your choices come in too, because then you got to, weigh all that out too, and it's very time consuming.
It is. It is. Yeah. And can be fatiguing in and of itself, trying to figure it all out and weigh through it all and try to be discerning. That was another one of the areas that I thought applying those 4 questions has kind of helped me choose, because it can all be true, or it can all have pieces of truth, and I get worn out wearing through it. So I thought, oh, yeah, thanks for coming, Andrea. She's gone. But wading through what I'm going to choose to try and figure out is true or not. And there's some of it that I do have to give a little attention to and at least get to a point, but the bulk of my attention doesn't have to go to everything.
I agree with that. I found myself caught up on a few things different times. Like, some of this I just got to let go of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Rabbit trails are really fun. And they can really...
Yeah, they can be.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes it's just the unknown. Sometimes it's intriguing and...
Mm-hmm. And there is so much to know out there.
Yeah.
I was poking around on Zach Bush's website, which is a fun one. And that's a man who's absolutely brilliant. And he is chasing so many things. And at the same time, he ties them together. But his website has a plethora of topics, from environmental things to ag-related things to health-related things. He is a virologist. So the things that he's talking about relating to the virus and viruses in general and health in general, and not just the health of the body, but the health of our society and our environment, there's a lot of places to go and a lot to know, and it gets really fun. So it helps to have a way to kind of weed through and say, okay, but important versus all the things that want my attention.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. So earlier, later dinner, I just want to touch on that a moment. Any questions? What's your particular challenge that you're going to tackle with that this round? Or is that kind of a thing?
I guess one of the things I'm going to tackle is, with the season changes and the activities that's been increasing, my meals have kind of got lost in the process. So, timing wise. So now we're back to, some are a little later than others. And so I want to get it back into that noon time thing again, and then just do something a little lighter in the afternoon.
Yep. Yep. Which really,
right now, it's just a challenge. Scheduling is a challenge again right now. So yeah, everything's increasing, but you know, we're working on it.
Yeah. And I have found actually in the summer, I enjoy that because it's like you get that big meal out of the way early and cleanup's a snap, and then eat something light earlier. It doesn't pull you away from all the fun things you're doing as the day starts to cool off and you start to get rolling, and then
you don't have to stress about making another big meal.
Exactly. Right. It's kind of like an important thing that you've checked off and done for the day early. Yeah. It's kind of part. So one of the things about streamlining the to-do list is do the really hard things first. And making a big meal can fall into that category, or making the main meal of the day, and then cleaning up from it, all the mess in the kitchen. It can fall into that category of harder things to do in the day. It's a bigger job. So the earlier in the day that you get it out of the way and done with, the easier, the more things just flow. Part of that flow. Yeah. So when you think of it that way too, getting the hard things knocked off the to-do list, and then you've got the rest of the day to enjoy.
Yep. Yep. No more procrastination in other areas. Start eliminating it.
Right.
That's what I've been working on. It's like, okay, I'll just wait till it warms up just a little bit before I walk out there. Yeah.
You know what? That is the truth. And that's been the other nice thing about doing it this way. And I had to set an alarm on my phone. So at 11:40, I get this reminder. I had to shut it off during the first time I did it. It went off in the middle of the pastor's sermon. But it reminds me, okay, time to get lunch going, because otherwise I'm cruising along doing stuff and just neglect it and then we eat late. But it's been nice having that happen, getting it done, because in the afternoon it is warmer and it's nice to be outside. So we've gotten our inside stuff done in the morning, including lunch and cleaning the kitchen. And then when it's nice, we're outside. As opposed to it getting nice and going outside, and then we're outside having fun and we don't come in and even start dinner until 6:30. So that's kind of how that's been working for us. So especially when you want to be outside, this earlier, later dinner thing, big lunch, it really rocks.
Yes, it does. I think someone's wanting my attention this morning.
Yep, and it's time to get going. So
Yep.
Good talking to you. I hope
you
too.
Better. Thank you, Jill.
You bet.
Me too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Rest of your day.
Yep, you too. Bye.
Yep. Bye.